gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for January 25th, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, grab the Mountain Dew and your extra controllers because we're having a GoldenEye slumber party. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Lucy James. Lucy, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit sick still, but I was very confused when you said Mountain Dew. I was like, wait, is something happened? Some tie-in? Because
Video games are happening, so Mountain Dew.
Video games are happening. So no, I'm on the West Coast, and so I obviously missed the GoldenEye news. Holy shit! Finally,
yes. It's something that it should happen anytime now. Well, anytime is now finally here. We'll get to that, but I don't know. Did you ever have slumber parties with GoldenEye? Because I certainly did.
No, because the girls I was friends with, who I had, we call them sleepovers with, we didn't really play video games until we got a little bit older. But even then, it was like Tony Hawk and Prince of Persia. Oh,
that
and
sounds like a good time too.
Do you remember iToy?
Like the camera?
Yeah, we were big on iToy, but unfortunately, no, sadly, never any GoldenEye slumber parties.
So iToy, the one that had like the. Maybe this is a Connect one, but had like the little tiger that the little girl was raising, and games like that, or like what iToy games were you guys playing?
It was like I remember one where you were like hammering in nails. You were in a kitchen and you were like chopping up food and serving it.
Oh, excellent!
Dan says you're thinking of Connectimals.
I'm usually thinking of Connectimals. That's right.
Always thinking of Connectimals. And then and there was a ninja one, window washing, and I think was the ninja one the one where you were like avoiding being spotted or like laser beams like in Mission Impossible.
That sounds right. What I'm hearing is I need to get an iToy and let my kids play
iToy Play 2 was the best one. I also remember that I had a video of this is sad. I had a video of my cat that I had at the time on there, and then when she died I would just like load it up and just keep watching it. I think I must still have that on a memory card somewhere. And
That's
I mean,
excellent.
you're talking like 360p camera here. It's really not very good. But
I mean, how many more P's do you need? It got the job done.
Exactly.
Apparently,
this show is now only ever going to be in 360p.
Yeah, so. People in chat saying like, the iToy was popular in Europe apparently. So,
was it not a big thing over here? It was big back home.
It existed, but I didn't know anyone that had it or played any of the games. It definitely was like the next generation of those kinds of interactions with games was when it got popular here, I think. So. Or maybe I just missed it. I might have been too cool. I was a cool kid by then and wouldn't have been like, I need a controller like a real man. All right, let's get into this mess. But before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you're watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with, it's been confirmed, GoldenEye 007 will release for Nintendo Switch this week. This comes from Andy Robinson at VGC. GoldenEye 007 will release for Nintendo Switch this week on January 27th, Nintendo has confirmed. The Switch version of the N64 Classic will be available to subscribers on Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack tier, which is the $50 per year tier, and like other N64 titles on the service, it will include online play. Microsoft officially confirmed the HD remaster of GoldenEye 007 for Xbox Game Pass in addition to a Nintendo Switch version during a Nintendo Direct broadcast in September. Since this original tweet went out, Lucy was talking about, okay, it is coming to Nintendo on January 27th. Microsoft has also confirmed the same day, basically the same version of the game is going to hit Xbox, and people will be able to play as part of Game Pass and all that. I was a huge fan of GoldenEye. I am well aware of how this game has aged, but I am still excited to go back and play some of it. It's going to be a good time for a day or two, and I'm totally okay with that.
Well, that's the thing. Are you going to buy it, or are you just going to play it on Game Pass?
Oh, I'll probably just play it on Game Pass or the N64 version. Because the Game Pass version doesn't have online multiplayer. it's like that weird thing where it's like they're basically just putting the ROM on Xbox the same way they did with other N64 games as part of that Rare collection a few years back. So it won't have online play. The N64 version does have online play because it's emulating a bunch of controllers all plugged into one system. So it's going to be online multiplayer, but with that split screen gameplay still. And I kind of want to just see that for the fun of it. I think that'd be a pretty cool thing to mess around with for a couple times. But yeah, I don't know. GoldenEye was a good game for its time. Boy, it's gonna. I mean, they have updated it with new controls and stuff. So you're gonna be able to
muscle memory will come back.
Yeah, and I want to see like does it support like full dual analog, and does that actually feel right? I want to see what that's like because playing with those C buttons was it was a thing. I mean, we didn't know any better because we didn't have two analogs at that time.
It was a simpler time.
It was a very simpler time. Yeah. Any chance you'll check in on this, or was the GoldenEye just never something you were too into?
You know what? GoldenEye is my favorite Bond movie, but I never had an N60. I never had an N64, so totally missed the boat on it. None of my friends had one either. Well, no, they didn't. I was more of a PC, PlayStation household, so I don't have the experience, and so I worry about a game where I I don't have the muscle memory of it, and then I just come back to it, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. So I have a hesitance about getting completely wrecked online. So
yeah,
probably not. But I'm happy for everyone else who gets to play it and relive those memories.
Yeah, it's There's like two things here, like Brenty pointed out in chat, and I forgot about this because I never tried it. You could always do dual analog with GoldenEye on the N64. You just had to have two controllers plugged in, one in each hand, which is just madness.
Oh my God.
I love that, but it's madness. Yeah. So, I mean, they should be able to map that pretty easily to a single modern Pro controller or the Joy-Con or an Xbox controller. And they do make a big point about that in the tweet from Rare. Only 2 days until you get to experience Dan with an Xbox controller for the first time. Very cool.
That's cool.
The ongoing strangeness here, and I'm really desperate to like get the full story of how this all went down. My guess is that the truth of the story is Nintendo kind of being a little bit of like kind of butts about this. There is an HD sort of remake of GoldenEye that leaked online forever ago. People played it.
Yeah, I remember
that is not what is getting released. This is not that. This is, again, basically just a ROM coming to Xbox. And it's like, it seems like that's never going to come out. And you got to be like, well, wow, that's strange. It is finished. People have played it. It works really well. Why wouldn't you just put that one out? My guess is Nintendo probably didn't want a better version on Xbox than exists on Nintendo, right?
Nintendo don't want another version on Xbox.
Yeah, it seems like
I feel good about that.
I mean, the reason that original remake never came out in the first place is because Nintendo was kind of got cold feet at the last second after all the work had been done, and they pulled out of the deal and said, well, we're not going to give it its approval, so it can't legally happen. And I think Microsoft's kind of like, okay, this time around, whatever you need, please let us do something with GoldenEye.
Please, we need games.
Yes, exactly. And here's the game that might hold them over for a little bit until they get to the rest of their stuff. All right, so let's move on here to Destiny 2 servers were offline for 20 straight hours. This came from Meredad Kiat. Yesterday, Bungie announced that it would begin deploying update 6.3.0.5 for Destiny 2 across all platforms, but it then turned into a huge problem for the studio as the team faced an issue with progression reset for Triumphs, Seals, and Catalyst, which could cost players days of grinding. As a result, the game has been under maintenance for over 18 hours at the time of this writing. And at first, there was supposed to be no downtime for the patch deployment at 9 a.m. Pacific time on January 24th. But as Bungie was unable to fix the issue, it decided to shut down the servers temporarily at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Since then, the studio has been extending the downtime, but no fix has arrived yet. Again, the fix has now just, right before we started this show, basically, they got it back online. Bungie, about 10 hours before bringing it back online, just said, hey, we are working on this, but it's up and at 'em again. So if you were trying to play yesterday, this morning, and weren't able to get online, that's what happened. They were basically trying to save you from losing progression, which is like one of the big things you cannot mess up in a game like this, right? You cannot waste people's time, or if people accomplish something, you can't take that time back away from them, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, they've done the right thing, I guess, because otherwise, yeah, if you people are on there and they're wasting time, and that's like, yeah, the cardinal sin of an online game is it's a cardinal sin of any game. You don't want to feel like your time is being wasted.
Yeah.
And so it obviously sucks, and I hope people are being cool about it because otherwise, yeah, what do you want to happen? Like Bungie are working as quickly as they can to fix it. Like it's not going to be you yelling at people online is not going to make things go quicker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they did the right thing. But that's a significant amount of downtime.
Yeah, especially without any warning. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where it can feel very much like, hey, I pay. I mean, Destiny 2 is like free to play now, so I guess I pay for this game. Maybe at one point you did pay for this game, or I do put money in this thing. I want it working. I get that. But this was like a last minute thing where like we have to do this because if people lose their progress, that'll be way worse than not being able to play for a day. So almost certainly the right choice. Okay. The day before continues to look sus as 8-month delay was announced. This comes from Chris Jex at Twinfinite. The day before.
So I've never heard of this game.
Yes.
Until yesterday when Andrew Goldfarb texted me and Tam with this. And I'd never even heard of it before. And then I went online and everyone was like, this game sounds like abandoned.
Yeah, that seems to be most of the curiosity around this game at this point is this even real? They haven't shown like much gameplay, if any at all. They were going to. Yeah. It's all part of the story. Let's get into it. The development team shared the news via a tweet from its Twitter account where it outlined the situation. And here's a quote. Right before the release, Steam blocked our game page at the request of a private individual because of the name the day before, the message reads. As you know, our game was announced in January 2021. At the time of the announcement, the day before game trademark was available. After the announcement of the game, the above-mentioned individual filled out an application before us to register the game trademark the day before in the United States. Fantastic, which is the development team claims that it was only made aware of the trademark claim as of January 19th, 2023, despite the trademark being filed by the individual back in June 2021, 5 months after the game was announced. It's also now reporting that due to these trademark issues, the development team is unable to post a lengthy gameplay video it was intending to show off later this month ahead of the game's planned March 1st release. Instead, it needs to sort out this issue first and will post a video ASAP. Apparently, like they're saying they're going to release this game on November 10th of this year. So they've picked a new date, a very specific new date. And it's if it's a trademark issue, wouldn't like you be worried about ongoing litigation if that's the reason that you're delaying things here? And really, you could probably show the gameplay without having any of the trademarks in there. So you just edit the trailer. You take
the logo out, redo the voiceover.
It's weird, right? There's something up here, right? I mean, are we being conspiratorial?
No, why the fuck would you announce a game and not trademark the name?
Yes, that's a pretty good point, too. Okay.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Game developers can, like anybody, can be stupid, right? Maybe, but that is pretty... Like, if you were planning to go to market, yeah, you got this like stuff you have to take care of. I don't know. I feel like if there's got to be something else going on if they're not showing the gameplay.
Who's even making this? Fantastic.
Fantastic without the A there.
So I when I saw this, I thought people were talking about Fanatical, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
and then no.
More fires. Yeah, no. Fanatical, thankfully, skating by scot-free here. It is so yeah, no gameplay.
We are creating one of the most anticipated games in the world. That's their website.
Yeah.
Our fundamental hang on. I'm sorry. Our fundamental vision is to deliver happiness celebration emoji to people, and from this vision stem many products, game controller emoji, and projects, all towards the same aim. The day before, one of the most anticipated games in the world. Prop Night. Oh, they made Prop Night? The top-selling game on Steam, different from Prop Hunt. And then they've made an app called Ultimate App for Remote Work called Continent.
Okay.
Okay, wait, hang on. There is a link to a Steam page. No, it just goes to Steam.
Oh, no. The Steam page has been taken down.
Yeah. But it's still linked on their website. And then, if you go on the web on the day before game.com, it's just a picture of the guy
Sorry.
Add to wish list.
Said Jake
Join
Veldine. I went to one of his videos to see if he had anything about this, but it's just him talking. Hi, Jake.
Aw.
Yeah.
Hi, Jake. Published by My Toner, so they do have a publisher.
It does.
What is this?
It's just a lot of stuff is in place, which is why I think it's getting attention, right? It's like a lot of the things seem like, okay, this could be a real game, but then you look a little bit closer and it starts to feel really suspect.
It was Steam's most wish-listed game a year ago. That's where these claims are coming from.
Yeah, I'm trying to there's like other fake videos on here about the day before with like fake gameplay. I think. I mean, let's see here. Let's see if this is anything, or if this is just like a fan thing. Yeah, I don't think this is real. So again, it's like okay, so it's supposed to be an open world MMO survival game. That's the kind of thing they can do very well on Steam. If this game was coming out when they said, it was supposed to be like a matter of weeks, right? Which is why they were finally going to show the gameplay. Then yeah, they would have something ready to show. I don't know. At the very least, this seems like them not wanting to admit the game isn't ready. But it also seems worse than that because that's such a understood thing at this point. We need to delay it because it's not ready. Is not some scandalous thing to admit these days. So just say that, and if they're not saying that, it does feel like there's something else going on, and maybe there is a trademark issue as well. But it doesn't seem like the primary reason that this game isn't coming together right now.
Mento just said, was it previously known by its last name, Star Citizen?
They wish they had the grift going that Star Citizens got. How much is that money?
Seriously?
How much money has that game raised? Like 100 million?
Like 100 million?
I think it's more than that. I think it's like I think it's like 500 million, like legit. I can't remember exactly, but man.
Christ.
Maybe they were good getting into that business though. Get into that business. Just keep raising crowdfund. All right. Xbox Q2 revenues were down 13%, but declines were offset by Game Pass growth. This comes from James Batchelor at gamesindustry.biz. Despite increases in its overall revenue, Microsoft has posted declines from its Xbox division for the last quarter of its financial year. While the company does not share specific revenue figures for each of its segment, it did report that gaming revenue was down 13% for the 3 months ended December 31st, 2022, as were Xbox hardware revenues, with Xbox content and services revenue down 12%. However, the platform holder was quick to emphasize these declines were partially offset by growth from its Xbox Game Pass subscription business and a record number of active players. This is not too much of a shock, Lucy. They were forecasting that they were going to have declines of this scale going into this quarter. So the new record active user number is 120 million players. And you got to think like, okay, that's pretty good that they're still growing that side of things. If they had any video games to sell, boy, they might be able to make some money, right?
Yeah, I know. It's a really tough, financial wise, Microsoft is pretty much down across the board. Yeah. I think the only real growth they saw was in cloud. Cloud, Azure was doing really well. And there's going to be the new 365 like $199 a month thing that they've just launching, and so that's going to be like a boon for them, I assume, going forward. But like, yeah, when I was looking at the financials yesterday, I was looking at Tom Warren from The Verge's kind of analysis on it, and it was like, yeah, you're coming out of COVID, you're coming out of like everyone in 2020 really becoming a gamer, you're coming off a year of, shit that happened with Halo, no major real big first party AAA exclusives for Microsoft last year. There was a couple of big ones. You had like High on Life and whatever, but
third party, but definitely nothing for first party.
Nothing for first, and so
Pentiment. We had Pentiment, like that's
and Pentiment too. Yeah. So yeah, I was definitely expecting a dip, and obviously Phil Spencer had said that Game Pass subs were tapering because everyone who had it, but the room to grow on PC for sure. So not to be unexpected, it also puts the layoffs last week in a little bit of perspective.
Yes, it does.
As awful as they are. And yeah, HoloLens was the big one though that really got fucked by that though, because the HoloLens division, since they blocked. Was it the Army buying all those HoloLens headsets?
Yeah, the military has a pretty big contract with it, but then they
Someone blocked it.
I think, well, they're like, this isn't ready. Go back to the drawing board and do another version. So they still have a deal. It's just they aren't immediately buying millions of HoloLens headsets. But so I mean that division's still going, but there was the other side of it, like the mixed AR for teams for just general consumers, and that was one of those teams was the team that was working on 1 versus 100 that I reported on before, and the guy that was in charge of that had already left, which made me think, I wonder if that's actually still going to ever come out. This makes me think that game might actually never come out, or maybe Microsoft shifts it. I don't know. Maybe they move those people around, but I'm just like way more pessimistic today about the possibility of that 1 versus 100 game ever seeing the light of day.
You don't know. You know, in 2010, we didn't know how good we had it.
Yeah, we did not, man.
I mean, we really did.
Yeah, we really did have everything, as Leonardo DiCaprio once said. I feel so. I mean, overall. We can look at these numbers. It makes a lot of sense. Like you said, coming out of the pandemic, it was always going to be this way. Having a tough comparison to Halo launching in that previous Q4, right, and then having to go to this Q4 and not having anything to replace it. But I think the reason that they get they come down hard on 343 is, well, the expectation is that Halo this year actually makes more money than the year before because it's doing so well.
Microtransactions, let's carry us.
And that didn't happen. It just it's clear that many of the strategic ideas they had didn't come to bear. I still think though, if Microsoft can continue down the path it's going on for the most part, and the games are good. If the games they have they're working on are good, they are well set up to still succeed this generation. But it's a bigger if than ever. It feels like just the way that those layoffs went down and those stories about mismanagement at 343. If that stuff has spread to other studios, which seems possible, even likely, then they might be in bigger trouble than even it seems like today. But we'll give them. I mean, I'll give those games a chance. I want to see what Redfall's like, Starfield. If those games hit, that the story changes quickly, right?
Don't bet against Arcane.
Yeah, I'm not.
Never bet against Arcane. I just played Prey again over Christmas.
And this is the Prey team, right? The Prey team is the one working on Redfall.
Yes,
I think it is. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I mean, Raph, Carl Antonio, and a bunch of them left to make Weird West,
right?
But like, this is Harvey and his team.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not betting against them, and I also think like this is like a big chance for like Arcane gameplay to go big, right? If it's this open world Far Cry style thing, you mash that up with Arcane systems, that's an opportunity to take Arcane to a much wider audience than has ever played it before. So I'm not betting against them. All right.
And my faves.
Yes. And then I'm still very hopeful for Starfield, but we'll see.
Starfield's gonna be great.
Yeah.
As in, like, it's gonna be big. Like, everyone's, waited a bit too long for Bethesda Studio.
I think you're right. Unqualified, it's going to be great because it's still going to have that community of people making stuff for it that their games always does, and that's really what works for me in terms of turning those games great. I never played the story in Skyrim. Skyrim was one of my favorite games. And I never tried to like beat the main thing. It was about exploring that world and then installing mods and doing crazy stuff. And then, that playground element.
Can I be a stealth archer in Starfield? That's all I want.
A stealth space archer.
Stealth
a Sparcher.
Space archer.
That Xbox showcase is happening later today. Are you?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you are excited for Redfall, but I mean, are you expecting any big surprises or anything that are really going to carry Xbox forward for the next couple of months?
No, I mean, other than release dates.
Yeah.
Because what is it? It's Redfall ESO.
Yes, that's right. Elder Scrolls Online, Redfall, Forza Motorsport, and another one that I'm forgetting.
I mean, I unless it's a Horizon, I have less interest in Forza just because I don't drive, so the simulation stuff really doesn't goes over my head. Redfall is what I'll be tuning in for sure. ESO is like, as much as I love Skyrim and Elder Scrolls, like I remember playing it at launch and it was not so great. Oh, Minecraft.
Yeah, Minecraft Legends is the other one. Thank you.
Yeah, and it was not so great, and I just never really got back into it. But you never know.
My most vivid memory of Elder Scrolls Online is going to a PAX, and they wanted to show me off some of the new stuff, and they're like, okay, well, the guy you're interviewing, the guy who runs the game, he's not ready yet, so go sit down and play the game for a while. And so I'm playing the game, waiting for someone to come get me, And then eventually the guy himself comes and gets me, and he's mad at me because he's like, why are you still playing this game? We're supposed to have this interview. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. I'm like, no one came to get me. I didn't know you were ready. I'm not going to just go burst into the room and do the interview. It was fun. I had a good time. Hi-Fi Rush, the Tango Gameworks game, probably is supposed to be there. So that there will be at least some kind of surprise. And but it's weird. It's like, why not save the GoldenEye announcement for like later today instead of this morning?
Maybe Nintendo's like,
Nintendo being a
no.
butt. Yes, I think that's real, because Nintendo was we were like waiting for the GoldenEye thing to show up at like E3 for Microsoft and all kinds of different things from Xbox, and then nope, it showed up first at a Nintendo Direct. So yeah, I think Nintendo being butts. Okay. AEW Fight Forever release date is now locked in limbo. This is from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. It's claimed the upcoming wrestling game, AEW Fight Forever, cannot announce a release date yet, as it has failed to acquire the ESRB rating that THQ Nordic and AEW hope to acquire. According to WrestleZone, AEW wanted the game to have a T for teen rating, but the ESRB is pushing for a more mature rating due to the amount of blood and gore in the game. AEW is known to present a lot of matches that feature wrestlers bleeding, and so it would probably want to emulate that in its game. The ESRB hasn't yet confirmed these issues, though, so nothing is official. There was a plan for AEW Fight Forever to release in 2022, but obviously that ship has sailed. Without a planned release date, even as we come close to the end of the first month of 2023, it seems like we'll be waiting a while longer before we get our hands on AEW's gaming debut. Yeah, this is a weird one where it's like we thought we would have heard about this a while ago. Maybe this is an explanation. It still feels like not a satisfying answer, because it's like, I mean, everyone understands what the ESRB is and what they expect. That stuff is not. It shouldn't be a surprise. But it does sound like they were trying to get away with maybe a little bit more than what they could. I don't.
Trying to be naughty.
Does this really matter anymore? Do you think the T ratings? I just can't imagine it being that much. I mean, maybe they don't get on store shelves in Walmart. Maybe that's still a thing. That would probably hurt it, right? Is that what their thinking is?
But then, even then, I wonder about the impact of retail, as in brick and mortar stores. Not like GameStops and Game are really, going wild, and people just buy stuff online or on Amazon or digitally now, I guess. So I don't know. It's a weird one. I mean, I am quite. Maybe don't know. Maybe it does have a bigger impact, and Target and Walmart are the sticklers. I mean, it's as long as it's not adults only, I guess.
Yeah, and there's no way it's getting that rating. So it's like you would think this should be fine. But I mean, even AEW's audience skews older. I'm because maybe I'm just assuming, but that they probably are still like, listen, this game needs to be able to sell to kids. We actually want the video game to sell to kids because that's one of our main ways that we're going to grow it with the audience of children and fight with WWE. But I don't know. It seems like it probably shouldn't affect this game too much, and maybe they could be the cool M-rated wrestling game as opposed to the WWE. It seems like they maybe should lean into it a little bit more.
Be the cool bloody one. I don't know shit about wrestling. Can you tell? I'm just like, AEW, WWE.
Be the cool bloody one is the most perfect thing you could have said. So
okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. 40K Darktide's Xbox release is delayed, so PC version can be fixed. This comes from Luke Plunkett at Kotaku. Warhammer 40K Darktide released on PC late last year, a dark and chunky take on Left 4 Dead set in the Games Workshop's grim, distant future. It was okay! ! It had its problems, but was okay. Those problems have persisted into 2023, though, and so the developers are shelving an Xbox version of the game while they get to work fixing them. In a statement released earlier today, Fat Shark said that they set out to, quote, create a highly engaging and stable game with a level of depth that keeps you playing for weeks, not hours, but, quote, fell short of meeting those expectations. As a result, they're not only delaying seasonal content for the PC version, but will be delaying the release of the game on Xbox Series X and S as well. I played Darktide. I'm pretty sure you did as well, right?
I did too.
And I thought it was pretty good. Maybe there's like some long-term support thing that's an issue, but I'm like a little bit confused here. It seemed like a fine game.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It was definitely very buggy though when we played it. Sure. Tam's character just vanished at one point. We had a couple matchmaking issues. Nothing. I wouldn't call it, bad or broken in any way. I thought it was a fun time. But then again, we played it and then played it a couple times and then never really came back to it. So
yeah, and maybe that's like where they're looking at, like they were expecting a certain amount of long-term support, and that's what people in chat are saying. It was broken enough that it turned people away from coming back to it repeatedly. Something that, you know, Vermintide and Vermintide 2 had no issue with. Those games brought people back for a significant period of time and are still popular today, I think. And so Darktide not be able to like recapture that, they probably do see that as a significant issue that they want to fix. Just surprised that I'm at a point with games where, of course they're broken. Like you're probably still gonna release it on Xbox though, right? Because you've got to get that money. So the fact that developers are like, no, we can't do that until it's perfect. Oh, okay, cool. I mean, I guess that's pretty neat that you're gonna do that. I do wonder to some point if people like are like me though, and they're like, actually, just give me the broken thing and fix it while it's broken. I'll play what's there, and then as you fix it, I'll keep coming back. But maybe they're like, maybe they treat console audiences a little bit different than that, and they're like, no, we want to make sure that they're happy right out of the
patching's more expensive on.
Yeah, you're right. That's
on
just
Xbox,
more work.
right?
Yeah, and it's not like it's a huge team. Fat Shark is a pretty slim team, so kind of worrying about this stuff now might save them money later. That's a good point. Do you think that this is like something that we can see from other developers? Like they're like, hey, we want to have it fixed first before we go to console?
I mean, it depends on the shareholders, I guess. It depends who's calling the shots from above them. I think it's good that Fat Shark have been afforded the opportunity to do this, because otherwise, insert Miyamoto quote here.
I guess you're right. What else did you say at a certain point?
Yeah, just like, I think it's good. Sorry, Xbox players, but hopefully you'll get the better product at the end of it.
Lord of the Rings game gets release window after multiple delays.
Oh, God.
This comes from Kate Gray at Nintendo Life. The Lord of the Rings Gollum. How do I say it? Lucy, what's the correct way? Because everyone gets mad at me every time.
I say Gollum.
Gollum. You say Gollum, right?
Gollum. Yeah. Glom. Gollum.
Okay, I'm going to say Gollum.
People are saying Golem?
People got me and they're like, no, it's Golem. And I'm like, okay.
Right. I don't care. Gollum.
Right. It's a Daedalic Entertainment developed stealth parkour game starring Golem. Game starring the titular weird gremlin on a quest to chase the One Ring. Unfortunately, it was delayed until 2022. Then the Switch version alone was pushed back further, as the other versions were slated for September 1st, 2022. Then all versions were delayed by a few months back in July 2022 without a definitive new release date. Now, at least, we have a new release window, April through September 2023. That's more than a few months, but Gollum really can't afford to split hairs, can he? Because he's only got a handful. Very good, Kate Gray. The publisher, Nacon, revealed this new release window in a financial report in which they stated that the game would be out in the first half of fiscal year 2023-2024. I always thought this game looked just kind of fine, and then I got the reaction. Everyone's like, "That looks like straight trash," and I got to hear what the true Lord of the Rings
I'm the trash man.
Yeah, what do you think about this one?
So I went to the event where they showed it off.
Okay.
Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good.
I mean, listen, he looks weird, but I'm just like, I could see like, hopping along as Gollum in Middle Earth. That seems like a fine concept. Is it just like what, like cheap or just kind of broken? What?
And so I saw it in July, maybe last year, and that was when it was still supposed to come out in September for Tolkien's birthday and the Rings of Power premiere. And I saw it, and I was like, "Well, this game doesn't look." And I been in this industry for over 10 years. I have seen a lot of games in various states of development. I was like, that is a game that will not be done for September. Like, despite them saying, "Oh yeah, we still got a little bit to go," and I was just like, "No, it's not gonna get done." It looked awkward as hell. It was like, do you remember that game they used to have? Was it Sticks?
Yes,
the little goblin thing.
STYX, yes. Sticks.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to go for that, but also it was.
I mean, haven't we had enough Sticks clones, Lucy? Haven't there been enough Sticks clones out there? Sorry,
but it was bad, and also like, I forget. Oh, what was it? It was like, it's all about Gollum as he's Is it in the cave and then the ring, like he loses the ring? I can't remember if you have the interaction with Bilbo, but you definitely have like some kind of flashbacks. And then it goes all the way. I asked, hey, where does this go up to? And they said it stops when he meets the Fellowship in the Mines of Moria. I was like, okay, so
wait. So that's like a pretty that's like 10 minutes, right?
I mean, no. Gollum has other stuff going on. Like he gets captured by
right. Okay,
He gets captured
tortured.
and taken to Mordor. He gets captured there. Then he gets captured by like Aragorn and taken to the Wood Elves. And so he has stuff going on for sure. And so, yeah, I mean, overall, it's like a few hundred years from when he loses the ring. I don't think the game covers the 100 years. I think it covers like the time from when he's captured in one place to captured in another.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Okay.
But it just looked so awkward. The movement looked really awkward. He had like it. When you're working with like a licensed property, especially one like the Tolkien estate, you obviously have quite limited things about what you can do, and certain writers can use that to their advantage and make something really compelling and make it work for the medium that it is supposed to be in. Take the movies, for example. Peter Jackson, Philippa Boyens did an amazing job. This is just awkward.
Yeah.
It was just like a really awkward implementation of Middle Earth, and I was just like, oh god.
Yeah. I mean, stealth parkour is like the big words there. And so I can see how you come to that.
Oh yeah, and he has if you are strangling an orc or an urukai or whatever, you have stamina. So strangling and like. I mean, I see like the risk or reward thing they're going for there,
right?
But mostly it's going to be fucking throwing rocks and just like walking around people. At least this is what I saw last year, and also I have immense brain fog.
Of course, just they have like branching romance paths. I'm sure,
yeah, fucking all those elves.
Yeah. Well, listen, count me in then. All right, let's move on to our obligatory Justin Roiland update. Justin Roiland resigns as CEO of Squanch Games following domestic battery charges. This comes from Chris Moyes at Destructoid. Justin Roiland, the creator of popular Adult Swim series Rick and Morty, has resigned as CEO of developer Squanch Games, the studio behind the recently released sci-fi shooter High on Life. The announcement of the resignation comes less than 24 hours after TV network Adult Swim also announced that it had terminated its relationship with Roiland after the producer was officially charged with felony domestic battery with corporal injury and false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, and or deceit, as reported by NBC News. The charges, which stem from an incident that reportedly took place in January 2020, were first leveled against Justin Roiland in May 2020, with the producer having already faced several court hearings on the case. This week, however, has been the first time the events have been brought to light by the mainstream media. Roiland has pleaded not guilty to all charges. A date for the trial is yet to be set. I'll say that on one hand, this is not surprising at all, and on the other, it's a little surprising that it just like he just stepped back and not fighting this side of things. We could speculate about the court case. I could say that based on what we do know in a more factual sense, for sure, about like his relationship to like some of his DMs that have leaked and some of his the settlements he's made at his company for someone that said they were harassed and then was later fired for underperforming after reporting about the harassment. And so, okay, well, I mean, he's another one of those guys. And so, of course, people aren't going to want to work with him. And if this stuff is going to continue, it can't be with him. So it's not surprising on that hand, but it's like, okay, he's just going away.
He's just a piece of shit.
Yes, and it's like but I'm just surprised how fast the downfall is. It just seems like it's instantaneous. I thought we had almost backslid from like the Me Too movement a little bit, and I was almost expecting him to be more defiant, and I'm kind of relieved that he's not.
I just don't think there's any way, and like I'm not gonna have the conversation about like, oh, cancel culture doesn't exist, blah blah blah, like, and all that kind of shit. I'm not cancel culture and that conversation, but like,
this is like
he's a powerful man,
we're talking about,
but he's done a lot of illegal shit, and there is irrefutable proof of it, like with all of these screenshots and stuff, and like he's just clearly creepy, weird, horrible guy, and like I don't think there's any way of garnering goodwill. But, you know, he's going to fucking retire with his millions. Like, what's his real punishment here? He's just not getting the status anymore?
Yeah, because like you would assume like he hasn't, like he's no longer the CEO of Squanch Games. He still
owns it.
Still owns it, right? Yeah, he founded it. So, I mean, he's still going to have all of that. Anytime the game High on Life makes money, that some of that money belongs to him.
And they tweet out that they're working on other games going forward. He'll profit from those.
He's still gonna.
He'll profit from Rick and Morty.
Absolutely, yes. He's gonna get residuals from that for forever. Even as they apparently are going on without him. Because I mean,
season 10.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I could promise you could find someone else to do those voices. I've seen it on TikTok a million times. There's like 50 guys out there that could do all the voices. All three of the voices that Justin Roiland does. My voice is not recovered enough from being sick for me to do it for you, or else I would completely entertain you. Yeah, there you go. Yes, that's very good.
I'm just doing like a Doc Brown. I've never seen Rick and Morty.
Yeah, just do a drunk Doc Brown. There you go. That's you got it.
It's your kids, Morty. Something's gonna happen with your kids.
Yeah, now burp, and then you got it.
I can't do a fake burp.
Oh man, no, that was perfect. That was wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
So we got our new Rick and Morty right here, everybody. There she is.
You know what? I don't want that heat. I don't want that heat.
Yeah, that's the one they like. Who's going to step in there? Because that's one, you got to be associated with that show that's now tainted, but also there's a fandom there that might react poorly, which is
I saw the Szechuan sauce shit, so I'm good.
Keep your Szechuan sauce away from me.
So Jan brought up Justin Roiland's sister, and people in chat have been asking, because this blew up on. Did you see this? It blew up on TikTok.
I didn't. Can you very online show me real quick?
Okay, so you see, I'm like getting ready.
Yeah, settle in. All right.
So there is a like a photographer studio space, I think in LA, and the person who owns it posted these screenshots of this influencer who basically asked, can I use your studio space for free? Here's the page views. And whatever I get. Here's the impressions. Blah blah blah. And then the person who owns the space was like, "Well, no, you would have to pay me if you're getting this amount of." Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like, this is the first thing. It's like, if you're getting this amount of views and whatever, you can afford to pay me. Then the influencer, like, sent a fucking voice note, being real shitty about it. And then she was like, "Oh, I think at one point she said I could get paid $10,000 for one post." And then it was like a whole thing. And then people identified that it was Justin Roiland's sister, who has her own controversies because she uses her daughter as like for content. And so that was maybe October, November. And I think screenshots came up in the past where like anyone who'd ever previously criticized her would be like, and she would reply with, "My brother's famous." But it just seems like a couple bad apples, bad eggs.
Nothing maybe more repulsive than that sort of response. Like, here's someone famous that I know. Or just like someone arguing online and being like, "Oh, you have far fewer followers than me, so you actually don't even matter," even though everything I'm saying is horseshit right now. Just totally repulsive stuff. So that sounds like a winning family over there. Hopefully they can all just go away. And it seems like that's what's happening.
Also, hang on, quick one. So do you remember when we were doing, what was it, Voicemail Dump Truck ages ago? And someone was like, "What podcast would you be on if you could be on any podcast?" And I said the Besties. I was on the Besties.
That's right. You did the High on Life episode.
High on Life.
And I think, wasn't it like the next day that the story broke?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, Lucy. I was like, oh shit.
I know. But I mean, I had a lovely time and they were great. And thank you to people who tweeted at the Besties to ask if me and Tam could go on. So thank you. I had a great time. And meeting Justin and Griffin and Russ was great. They were also lovely.
Good boys.
So,
yeah.
Good boys.
I said this before when we talked about it, but like I'll say it's my laziness, but I think it probably is that I don't really like Justin Roiland. That probably saved it. Like they asked, hey, do you want
I just don't like Justin McElroy. I was like,
no, just Justin McElroy. He's a very good boy. He's always been nice to me.
Yeah, he's the best.
But they're like, hey, you want him on the Bombcast? And at first, I was like, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not on the Bombcast.
I forgot about that.
Definitely not on the Bombcast, but you can maybe come host Game Mess mornings. And that was my nice way of saying, no, you can't be on the Bombcast, right? But it was like,
yeah.
If they follow up with this, maybe I'll do it. And if they did follow up, I didn't check my email. I never actually checked to see if there was a reply after that. And it's like, I'm like, oh, that's because I'm lazy. But really, the truth is, if it was someone I liked, I would have made the effort and been like, okay, no, let's get him on here. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit and be like, I found a way out of that, thankfully.
I mean, yeah, so they asked, obviously, Giant Bomb, they also asked GameSpot, and it was the week before Christmas or the week before that, and so we were all just like, oh, it's Game Awards, we don't have time, we're really sorry we can't do it. And then, dodged a little bullet there, I guess.
Yeah, if I was mixing up McElroy and Roiland there, I'm sorry, everybody. I definitely meant Roiland. Okay, let's see here. The Last of Us Season 2 is likely, Bella Ramsey says. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. Bella Ramsey sounds like... Yeah, right, exactly. That's right. Bella Ramsey sounds like such a Game of Thrones name that I was like, are they just using her character from Game of Thrones? It's like, no, she didn't play a Ramsey in that show. She was a Mormont.
Lydia Mormont?
Mormont, yes. And I had to look it up. I'm like, this is weird. But no, Bella Ramsey's her name. A second season of HBO's The Last of Us is likely, according to one of its stars. Speaking to the BBC, Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie in the TV adaptation, said the reaction to the show's first episodes makes a second season all but certain, but stressed that nothing has been officially confirmed yet. She says, if people keep watching, I think a second series is pretty likely. It's down to the guys at HBO. There's nothing confirmed yet, so we'll have to wait and see. The show's printing money. I could tell you there will be a second season, like without a doubt. There's going to be a second season of this show. My question to you, Lucy, is there like a third, a fourth, a spinoff show? Do they start producing these seasons so fast that they get beyond where the games are at? What do you think?
I would love... So, and yeah, there's all this speculation because Craig Mattson and Neil Druckmann follow someone who fans think could be Abby. I would love if they did, Joel and Ellie's story in season 1, Abby's like... prequel story in season 2, like her growing up, and then season 3 would be the events of Last of Us, or at least some of the events of Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, and then maybe you could stretch it out that way.
Yeah, I think that's something along those lines is very likely to go down. But it's like then are they then looking down the barrel of, do we go beyond where the games are at? Because when do we think of Last of Us Part 3 also seems certain at this point now as well. They've already mentioned that they think they can do it. With the show being so successful, they're just going to kind of keep going back and forth. But I mean, that game likely isn't out until when? We're 2023 right now. 2026, 7? Like that even that feels early.
How long did we have to wait between 1 and 2? 7 years. Between the two, right? Yeah,
Blackguard Vinyl says season 3 would be factions, and apparently the new thing would apparently it's gonna have story stuff in it, but it's like, is there gonna be enough there? I suppose like it's an adaptation, they could kind of take those elements and build on that. But I mean, the nice thing for this show, it seems, is Neil Druckmann very involved, and he's like the co-executive producer, so. He could probably be like
written a bunch of it.
Yes, this is what
directed an episode. Yeah.
Exactly. So he's going to be able to make sure that things can stay in line in a way that maybe even Game of Thrones, even though it did have J.R.R. Martin or G.R.R. Martin involved, even that show couldn't like keep up with the books, and so
not at the end. Like he was, I mean, Martin wasn't even involved with Game of Thrones beyond like season.
Right, so maybe that could be the key difference here. But I don't know. I just don't want to see that happen to this show as well. Not that I'm watching it, and maybe I don't ever plan to. But still, I'm glad people are liking it so much, and I don't want it to go bad. Have you been watching it?
I've seen the first 4. So right. I can confirm it's great. I really like it. Tam also raised a great point, which was it would be cool if they did that, but then you wouldn't get to use Pedro and Bella, who are major carry.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they do still do something like you said, but I think they find a way to cut to what those characters are doing as well at the same time. Okay, Washington Post is shutting down its gaming section amid wider layoffs. This comes from Kotaku. The Washington Post imposed more layoffs on Tuesday, just a week after owner Jeff Bezos visited its Washington, D.C. office. Among the ritual sacrifices will be Launcher, the newspaper's burgeoning gaming section, which routinely broke important news stories, landed big interviews, and asked the tough questions. Launcher had only just turned 3 years old last fall and was one of the few attempts by a mainstream media outlet to tackle the unwieldy world of video games in a way that wasn't condescending or misinformed. Kotaku understands that some of its team will be reassigned to other parts of the Washington Post, while others will be laid off. Due to their union contracts, those affected will still remain employed through March 31st. This is a real shame, as this story points out. Launcher was getting really good stories. Their interviews were top of the line, too. They were talking to the biggest names because they were the Washington Post, and they could get them. And then when they did, it wasn't just fluff. It was really tough questions.
Good.
So it's like, man, we've lost an important apparatus in understanding how the video game industry works with Launcher being shut down. And again, it's just more of this, like we're trying to figure out like why this happened. It seems like the Washington Post Guild, the union, said as far as we can tell, they are not financially necessary or rooted in any coherent business plan from our publisher. Talking about the layoffs. And boy, that sounds, familiar across the board for every layoff that we've seen recently. It's mostly just a panicked overreaction. And again, Launcher was doing good work. It probably was going to keep growing. And I hope everyone over there lands on their feet. But I mean, are we done with the bloodletting, or is this going to keep spreading, you think?
I hope so, man.
Yep.
And it's not fair at all. But anywhere that it happens. Gene Park is still going to be there.
Yes.
He's getting moved into like a features team or a lifestyle team.
Yeah.
But the dedicated vertical is Launcher is gone. And they did fucking amazing work, like Nathan and Shannon and the rest of the team, and it is awful. And it's just really depressing to be watching it all happen.
Yep, I 100% agree. Good luck to everyone there. And if anyone has any leads or any way to support these folks, definitely reach out to them. Shannon Lau, I think is how you say her name. I always read her stuff. She was one of the great writers there. But Nathan, everyone over there, Mikhail, a lot of great writers. Okay, let's get to the poll from Monday. I asked, is Avengers going to scare major publishers away from making some live service games? Basically asking, is there like any fear put into publishers after seeing something like Avengers happen? 49% say yes, 51% say no. And I think, a 50-50 chance that this might limit some publishers going down the road of taking on big live service projects, especially once they have license fees attached to it. But overall, most people in the comments were like, the people at top see that this is like a lottery ticket system, as opposed to putting out a product where if a product succeeds, it has there's an end date, there's a cap to how much money you can make. You're looking at 15% profit, a profit margin, whereas opposed to a live service game, when those hit, the money could be infinite. So they're going to keep doing this. I just think they probably won't usually attach something as expensive as Avengers to it going forward. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I also wonder if the deal between Square and Marvel was something completely different, where it wasn't necessarily imposed by the game side of things; it was imposed by the Disney side of things.
Right.
But no, I mean, it's gonna keep happening. Game development is so expensive, takes so long. Like, Rocksteady hasn't released a game since 2016. And there's been talk of canceled versions of whatever game it was, and then we've got Suicide Squad at the end of it, which is a game that I'm still excited for, but also realistically we don't know that much about.
Right, and
the gameplay. And we've just seen that leaked screen.
Yeah, and we can count on probably it being a pretty decent playing Rocksteady game, but
Yep.
But then it's like, well, sure, yeah, but the Avengers was a pretty fine playing game as well. It was like the issues were all the live service things.
Single player was fun.
Yeah, and it's like, is that going to happen? Could that happen to Suicide Squad? Now, Suicide Squad should have the benefit of hindsight with Avengers, but does that make it easier to make a ton of content to support a game like that long term? No, that stuff's still going to be very hard. So
yeah, it's also going to be difficult because, at least from what they've told us about Suicide Squad so far, it's like it's a contained story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, as far as we've heard, yeah. So it's
okay, I'm intrigued.
yeah.
But no, I don't know. Like, I find it very difficult to even like sync up with friends to play games, and so there's no way I'm gonna be able to be like, hey, I need 35 hours. You want to come play Suicide Squad with me? We'll arrange it after work and between everyone's social stuff. And, oh, you feeling tired on a Friday? Me too. Let's not play. And then I'll just never finish it. So I'm just gonna play that whole game by myself.
Yeah, I might do the same thing. I'll probably see if it runs in the Steam Deck. Just play it like alone.
Yeah.
Be good. All right, new poll. While I get this written, Lucy, what do we have going on this week? What do you have going on this week other than being very, very busy?
Tam and I are recording a Forspoken quick look. We were supposed to do it yesterday, but some stuff came up. I think we're going to do that either today or tomorrow. There'll be voicemail dump truck. UPF, we're doing Hitman, right?
That's right. We got we're going to be playing Hitman Freelancer mode. Probably have multiple versions of that. That's the plan anyhow, where we're going to do a little bit of a race. We'll see how we can make that work, but mostly it'll just be us messing around in Hitman, which I'm excited about.
And then what else is going on today?
So there'll be Grubber Lang will be happening later today live, and then me and Dan are going to get together and record something else that will because that
sounds like a threat.
Yes, it is. Dan's found a box of old discs. And we're going to throw it into some older consoles and see what we find on those discs. So looking forward to that. But that we plan to record that, and that's going to conflict a little bit with the Xbox Showcase. But we won't be talking over the Xbox Showcase live. Part of that was it's like 40 minutes long, and they were only promising 4 games. And so it sounded like that could drag a little bit. Might not be the greatest thing to talk over, because I think mostly it's going to be developers talking about their game. And so it's just going to be us sitting in silence watching that mostly. If there are surprises, this is not going to be like, as more stuff comes out in terms of showcases, we will keep talking over things. We're just deciding not to do this one, but that means more content later this week coming out of us. So keep an eye out for that. And then Game S mornings the rest of the week. I'll have Jan tomorrow, Tam on Friday. Looking forward to it. The new poll. Let's see here. Are you excited about GoldenEye on Switch and or Xbox? That was just.
You didn't put a poll.
Listen, I didn't make it a poll. So I'm gonna, it's man, just on top of my game today, of my game. All right.
It is the most Wednesday.
Yes, that's man. Every time I almost.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
I almost do that almost every time, and somehow that's the first time I think I've really just not asked it as a poll. All right. Yes. No. There we go. All right, Lucy. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today about video games. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Bye.